Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 209 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is a fish that is, honestly, it's mind-blowing that I haven't talked about this fish before. I know I've talked about this fish and mentioned this fish, but the fact that I haven't done a video on this fish blew my mind. Unless I did do a video and I can't even find it on my own channel, which could happen. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is bam, the blue tilapia. Now the blue tilapia, or scientific name Oreochromis aureus, again that's Oreochromis aureus, it is part of the family Cichlidae. Now you might come after me and say, Ping, you just did a cichlid. I know. Trust me. I know. I don't like how these past two Fish Fridays have been about, or have been basically very similar fish. But the fact that I hadn't talked about it is just, I just can't believe it. I really can't believe it. But let's get into this fish. Now the blue tilapia is native to northern and western Africa. And it's also native to the Middle East. A lot of people don't realize that, but it is native to northern and western Africa. It's very specific, or specific in quotations. It's native to the Senegal, Niger, Benue, and lower Nile rivers in Africa. So it does appear in quite a few river systems. And it's native to the Jordan River in the Middle East. Now, I know what you're thinking, tilapia. That's a very common fish. Well, tilapia is the common name given to about 100 species of fish. So there's a lot of different species of fish. If you're in the US, more often than not, you have seen one of 3 species of tilapia. I'm talking about live fish, by the way, not on your food. I have no clue what species is most likely on your plate from the grocery store. I am sorry if I stumble across my words. I am recording this at 4:50 in the morning because I'm trying to get that backlog ready for y'all, and I'm gonna drink my coffee as well. Get a little woken up. But yeah, so if you have seen these fish in the US in the actual river systems, you're most likely looking at one of 3 species. There's this one, the Nile tilapia, and then the Mozambique tilapia. I believe can't remember which one's the most common one. And they're all very, very similar. Like, do not get me wrong, the fact that if you had seen these and you thought they were all the same species, they're actually kind of difficult to tell apart, especially when you don't think that they're any different. Most of the populations in the US came from Israel. At least all the original stocks of blue tilapia actually came from Israel. So just a little interesting tidbit for me. Now they're primarily found in fresh and brackish water. So they're usually found in like that rivers, slightly salt water. However, they are super, super tolerant of a very wide range of conditions. Very, very wide range of environmental conditions. Flowing water, still water, salt water, even hypersaline water. And hypersaline water is saltier than seawater. Lots of vegetation, no vegetation. It doesn't matter. These things can live through almost everything. And in fact, maybe not necessarily this species, but it has been shown that when people have shipped these, especially in olden times, in very older ships, all they had to do was put these fish in barrels with like wet newspaper and they would survive a trip. As long as their gills stayed wet, they can survive almost anything. So yeah, it's a very tough fish, and it's super, super tolerant of a very wide range of conditions, including bad conditions which is one of the reasons why this fish is so well known and why it can be such a problem. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, I would consider the blue tilapia a medium-sized fish, usually 12 to 20 centimeters, which is 4.75 to 7.75 inches, and they weigh around 2.3 to 2.7 kilograms, which is around 5 to 6 pounds. The largest recorded specimen was actually over 53 centimeters, which was 21 inches long, and weighed more than 4.5 kilograms, which is over 10 pounds. This fish is actually fairly short and thick-bodied, but I don't really believe that recorded specimen. I believe that it was probably a hybrid that just exhibited all the signs of a blue tilapia, and make no mistakes that the Oreochromis genus will hybridize with each other like you wouldn't believe. So to me, it points to it probably being more of a hybrid, because it's the length that gets me. If most of your fish are 12 to 20 centimeters and you get one that's over 53 centimeters, something's a little weird there. Because weight I can understand, but fish, remember, grow in like a reverse logarithmic curve. They grow very, very quickly until they reach sexual maturity, and then they stop growing once they become of reproductive age. And most animals are like this. I mean, you have to think even humans are like this. What do you do when you're a kid in your teenage years? You grow. And then after your teenage years, you might have little spurts here and there where you grow, but you're primarily grown. You stop growing from then. So anyway, but the tilapia does have a very laterally compressed body that's very deep. Like I said, it's thicker than most of your other laterally compressed body shapes. A lot of people confuse these with sunfish. They are not a sunfish at all. They are a cichlid. So yeah, I guess I can see it, but there are some major differences. They do have this kind of like blue-grayish head, this white belly. You can say blue-gray sides as well. But they have this very long dorsal fin with all of these spines on the front. And I want to say 17 spines. So you might want to be careful when you're grabbing these. A very large protrusible mouth. So they'll stick this mouth a lot farther than you think. There's plenty of pictures there. And the caudal and dorsal fin usually have this bright red or pink distal margin. It's usually more apparent in breeding. You can see right here, this is a breeding male. You can see it's got that really nice coloration to its fin. In breeding, their head will actually become much more bluish, and that's pretty indicative of a male right there. And you can just see the coloration that it has. Very pointed pectoral fins, and usually it'll have this barring down the sides. It's kind of this spotted with barring down the sides. So really, really neat. Now, like many other cichlids, they are actually mouth brooders, and it was actually kind of neat for me to read about their mouth brooding. Unlike a lot of other mouth brooders, the female is actually the one who takes up the eggs. So after the eggs are fertilized, the female actually scoops them up, and then she can hold about 2,000 eggs in her mouth. But she immediately swims away to deeper water. And then the male will just continue breeding. Usually there's a lot of what I've seen has been the male has actually been the mouth brooder. So this is kind of neat to read. If people know differently on mouth brooding, please. I love mouth brooding, but I haven't done a lot of looking into it. But to me, it seems like most of the mouth brooders have actually been the males, been the ones actually taking care of the young. But maybe I'm wrong on that one. But so the female actually takes them, but then it was actually very quick that surprised me. The hatching of the eggs actually occurred within 3 days. 3 days is not a very long time. And then after she raises them, they're gone. It was so quick to me. 5 days. So essentially, the eggs, she scoops up the eggs. They hatch after 3 days, and the first 2 days after that, they grow, and then they're done. All the research that I saw said that the parent-offspring relationship ceases after 5 days. Now, maybe that means after hatching. So we'll say 3 days to hatch, then 5 days of them growing, and then they're done. That was the crazy thing to me, was, wow, that was such a quick. It's so quick, and it's no wonder that they're so prolific, because they're providing a very good safe breeding, and then obviously it's very successful because they would not leave their young if the young were not able to take care of themselves. So that's why it can be hugely invasive. By the way, you can see the protrusible mouse ears. Yeah, they'll destroy all their native vegetation. They'll very much outcompete native fish. And what's crazy is, even you can see right here, actually, there will be so many blue tilapia in a area that they'll actually degrade the water quality. They'll make the water quality bad. And what's even interesting is blue tilapia are actually known to be primarily herbivorous. And you know, I get it. It's herbivory and fish. It's a little weird, but it's not uncommon. One of the reasons why this is such a hugely invasive fish is they have a very, very, very good breeding strategy. They are very, very tolerant even of those very bad water conditions, because remember, when I talked, they could be in fresh, they can be in brackish, they can be in salt, and they can be even hypersaline water. They can survive there. So they're very, very hard to kill. But this was a very interesting thing. Not the interesting fact we're going to end the video on, but an interesting thing. There was a study done in 1997 that showed that the blue tilapia actually adjusted its feeding strategy to reflect the relative abundance and composition of available food. It included fish consumption. So this study showed and observed that the blue tilapia in a very small area switched its diet from plants after the plants were gone to other fish. And that is a very scary thing. It means that this fish will just continue existing until there is nothing left for it to eat, and then it'll probably start self-predating, cannibalizing, and that is the only way that it can sort of self-regulate, barring something else, some other interference. That's very problematic and invasive species, but you know, it's very well known, and there are hundreds of programs out there to control tilapia. But the interesting fact we're going to end the video on is actually about the jaw structure. I didn't know this, and it blew my mind that I didn't know this. The lower pharyngeal bones, the pharyngeal teeth, remember, are the teeth in the throat that help fish sort of like secondarily process their food. Their lower pharyngeal bones are actually fused into a single tooth-bearing structure. And a complex set of muscles allow the upper and lower pharyngeal jaws to be used as a second set of jaws for processing food. Very, very much like moray eels. And I didn't know that. I thought moray eels were really one of the only fish that had those pharyngeal jaws. And it turns out, after doing research into tilapia, a lot of cichlids actually have those pharyngeal jaws. Some not as prevalent, but the tilapia is actually really prevalent. And it just really makes me happy that even on common fish, I get to learn new stuff every day. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Love seeing those comments. If you'd like to support the channel, please click the link. Please click the link down below. It is by no means expected, but very much appreciated. Regardless, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and peace.